Hello everyone, Jennifer here with Talking Training with the Trades. A lot of you have reached out and asked me about technology. Many of you know that everyone that works for me can pretty much work remotely. I set my firm up like that from the very beginning, so I know a lot about technology and how to use it with the team. So I'm going to go through some of my favorite. I'm not trying to endorse any one product. I'm just going to tell you what we happen to be using and the general genre of what they are. So if you want to implement any of this with your team, go ahead. If you have questions on anything, reach out to us. Or if you don't know how to do anything, if you can't reach out to vendors, I know even some vendors are offering specials during this pandemic to figure it out. We're happy to help. I know Kate in my office a lot of times writes out instructions on how all of us can use certain ones. So if we can ever send that to you to help you get online even faster with your team, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help. You can always call our office 319-449-6969 and we can let you know what resources we already have built up and get you moving as fast as possible. So one of the number one items that people have been asking for me about is my video conferencing that I use. We happen to use Zoom. You can use Zoom in many different ways. I do it on many phone calls with individuals where I want to see them. The reason for that is I used telephone conferencing for years, but the problem is you can't tell when somebody wants to talk and you can't see them. There is, like 90% or 70% of communication is through body language and the way that you can see somebody talking. That's all gone when you go through telephone conferencing. So we implemented Zoom video conferencing years ago. There's also a call-in feature if somebody really didn't have access to that. So I highly, highly recommend if you're off-site, like everyone is working in a quarantined environment, self-quarantined, that you use Zoom. It's actually very reasonable in price. You can go ahead and get an account and then everyone else can sign on to your Zoom and you can send them a link to get in. It may cost you a webcam or two, so if people don't already have video functioning on their computers or laptops, you may just have to invest in a webcam. Those are pretty cheap these days, probably 30 to 60 bucks to get those where you can see them online, like I'm doing with you guys now, actually, is off of a webcam. Another big one, if you have board meetings. So a lot of you may have always done in-person board meetings. I like to couple a couple different technologies together for board meetings. You could do them all online, and that is using Zoom so you can see everyone. And the other one is BoardPack. So it's a meeting organizer, like for everything else, there's many different ones that are out there. I happen to use BoardPack with a lot of my board meetings. It puts up the entire agenda for the board. It lists, like you can put documents with each agenda item. So as you're moving through the meeting, people can easily click on the documents. It's also a great library of all these documents for your apprenticeship program as you do your board meetings. Board meetings now are likely happening more often than they ever were before as you try to make decisions on how you're going to move things forward during this pandemic. Highly, highly recommend that you start looking at some of those features because these are both great features that you guys can use moving forward in your program. BoardPack, I have most of my boards move over to it. They love it once they get used to it. You can even use it, on one screen in person for the future so everyone's organized. You don't have these like stacks of binders that people are taking home after board meetings. So very, very useful. Look into that as well to help with these meetings. Everyone can sign on, have it right there in front of their computers when they're remote, and everyone's following through at the same time. Zoom also offers screen share. I use this a lot, where if we're in BoardPack, I can share my screen to everyone so everyone sees what documents I'm using and can stay on board on what we're walking through together. So great, both of those are huge technology time savers too that can help you. Another one I want to mention to you guys is passwords. So several of you may be needing to share more passwords to get on into technology than you've ever had to before. For an organization, I always recommend you who use a password keeper because the strength of passwords is extremely important. I cannot express this enough. So I use something called LastPass. I go in as the leader of my organization, I set up an account, and then I send and add users in. And then I have control over, they share their passwords with me and I can share certain passwords with them, not all my passwords. And then I can go in and if somebody leaves my organization, I now wipe out all of their passwords so they can't log into any of our online accounts. Hugely, hugely effective. It allows me to get into anything that I need to from one of my team members. And it also is the protection you need in your organization. So if somebody's gone, somebody leaves, or they're remote and you can't get in touch with them, you can wipe out all of these passwords for anyone. It is a protection mechanism I recommend every single organization has. So if you haven't looked into a password keeper, now would be a great time. The other reason it's a great time, if you have classes closed down, your staff can spend the time they need to get all their passwords up. The society is crazy these days. We use passwords for everything. Highly recommend you take a look at that too. So those are the 3 top technologies I wanted to bring to you today. I've got even more that I can tell you about, but let's start with Zoom for the video conferencing. We've got Board Pack for online meetings with your board, and then LastPass was the one for your password keeper. So you can have the protection you need in your organization, and during these remote times, the sharing of the passwords to help move you guys forward. Take care. Let me know what other technology you want to hear about. Happy to tell you. We've got several other ones I can let you know about.